All right, let's bring on Clyde Hall. Hello, Clyde.
Clyde.
Hello, hello.
Did you change into that?
Yes, I'm ready for this interview.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
Willow, I'm going to drop you off. So good night, Willow. You'll be pulling the strings from behind the scene, and let's bring on Guy Gilchrist. Hello, Guy.
Hey, Amy. Hi, beautiful.
We should have coordinated with a Mitzi top knot.
Oh, I love your hair game tonight. That was great.
Thank you. My gaming hair. I may or may not have washed it in the last week. It goes like that. I'm half Lebanese. It's okay. That's what you do when you have special multicultural hair. Hold on a second. Guy, thank you so much for doing this. You know I'm crazy about you. I'm terrible.
I love you so much.
Oh, you changed the world when you gave me those Kermit drawings that you made. I mean, I have one, and the person that I really wanted to give one to, I gave them to it. It means such well. I'm about to hit you up. I'll do it just from the information we have with each other. Sorry, guys, business. Because our event in LA, like our big dinner, is May 4th, and we're going to have a silent auction. And I definitely want whatever you want to do for it, and tell me the actual, but they're invaluable, so there's no way to price it. But God bless you. You've been so good with all the stuff we've asked of you. But there's more.
I've thought about that already. You know, I've read about it and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And so what I'm going to do is, so I have a white electric guitar.
Yeah.
I'm going to paint a picture of Kermit playing the banjo and put the Rainbow Connection words on it, and we'll auction that. Is that good? Okay.
It was one of my favorite songs. That's huge. Thank you, friend. Sorry. Thank you, friend. It's really...
The Rainbow Connection is our connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is. It's so beautiful. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to get out here, blow my snot out of my nose. Take a quick number one. And I'll talk to you later, Guy. Thank you so much. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.
Bye-bye. Love you, love you, love you.
That fucking guitar. Nobody's going to get a chance. Goodbye.
I'm going to bow out too. Guy and Clyde have a fantastic interview. I will be watching from the wings, I'm sure.
Okay.
I will be. So,
Love you.
I'll be watching. Feel free to say nice things about me. Somebody tell.
Okay, let's just start talking about Amy, Clyde.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I first fell in love with Amy.
Guy, before. You know that event that we did together in Louisville, the Galaxy?
Yeah.
I need a different maybe guy to help me like get into those, because Steve Weber and Tim must be do Superman stuff. Doesn't he do Superman stuff? Tim Daly, but must be like doing stuff, and I'm like, we should do like a Wings reunion. I feel like somebody would want to do that, and we could make money for the foundation. Will you help me figure that stuff out?
Okay, let me help you put that together.
Okay, talk to you later. Bye. Sorry about our little business we're doing.
Okay. No, it's fine.
Also, the good shit is in. Call me. And what?
All right.
Oh my God, I love her so much.
So let's
nice
just
shirt.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
I was looking today in the closet going, what could I possibly wear that would be appropriate for this? And this leapt out at me, and I'm like, yes, this will work.
Leapt out a piece of delivery guy.
Hey, thank you for joining us, and thank you for being part of this. And as you all saw right there, we have networking in progress with people that are dedicated to what we are dedicating our weekend to, the John Ritter Foundation for Aortic Health. So thank you, Guy, for being a part of this. And for those who don't,
Clyde, it's a year-round thing. And I know this is the that we have these special events during the year, but when I just did Comic-Con LA at the beginning of December, what we did was we took donations there,
Mm-hmm.
and and put it toward John's foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And just anybody that's out there that that might be doing something in the public eye, like I do and that Amy does, that's always something that that we can do.
Right.
Because it number one, of course, it's making the money to let us do the things that we need to do here, but but it's also bringing awareness that there is a foundation.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
The weird part was they announced this earlier, what we were going to do for this year. We always pick a charity to benefit, and that was, we were going to do the Aortic Foundation. And around Christmas time, I found out that my son-in-law, who is in his early 30s, was diagnosed with that exact same problem. It has not become a health issue yet, but the kind of work that we're doing this weekend and the donating that comes in, and the stuff that you have done and Amy has done is what makes doctors aware to look for that sort of thing, even in a younger patient. So when you think that, this is an interesting benefit, but does it really impact people that I know? Yes, it does. So yes. So, thank you for all that you have done. And thank you, Amy, for all that you have done to make people more aware, because that is where the survivability in that condition lays, is when people already know that you have it and can prevent misdiagnosis of heart attacks and things like that. So, but Guy,
Amy is, of course, Amy is, every day in every way, bringing this to the forefront. And, and obviously, she's got that golden string up to heaven, with John and about all of this. And there are so many things that we can kind of diagnose, and there are things that are preventable. There are a lot of so I get involved with a lot of charities because you just wind up doing that. You're in the public eye and stuff, and there are charities that are televised a lot. They have a lot of commercials. They have a lot of stuff out there, and so the money comes in. Then there's like this foundation with this particular challenge that isn't any of that. And this is really truly a grassroots thing. And the more that we bring it into focus, the more awareness that we have, the less chance there's going to be that these tragedies happen.
Right.
And so it's a great, it's a great blessing to me to have known John, and through John know Amy, and be able to help. Had it not been for knowing John, I wouldn't have known.
Right.
Back then you didn't. You didn't know,
And what a John Ritter thing to do. This kind of a, this sort of a movement of awareness. Everything I've read about him and hearing people talk about him. When I saw him in Hero at Large, I thought,
I love that.
Isn't that great? It's a great show.
I love that movie.
And I was convinced that's him. That character is very him. And I have not seen anything since that made me think differently. But
I mean, when I first met, I met John on, I saw him on 2 production sets, and in both cases, one was a Miss Piggy special. One was a movie that he made with Audrey Hepburn called They All Laughed. And both times he was the same person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's why he was so incredibly likable and lovable on screen, was because he was being himself,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And what a charming, funny, ridiculously talented, humble, like, and he had this like really wicked sense of humor, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And he was so great at, like, when he'd look at you when in real life, you know, it was that same look, you know, the look that he gives the camera when he's breaking the fourth wall.
Right. Right.
And it's like, you know, they're hot, right? Or, yeah, I know I just did that. Yeah, I know I just said that, you know. And he was perfect for the Muppets, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Because he had so much heart and soul and so much wicked goofiness, you know, and fearless, absolutely fearless, you
Mm-hmm.
know, in his performances, in his physical performances, you know. I mean, that stuff ain't easy.
Mm-hmm.
And he made it look, well, like it hurt, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
He just
Yeah.
thought, you know, yeah.
You just watch him on Three's Company or any where the physical comedy came into play, and you're going, oh, that hurt me just to see it. It's just amazing, amazing talent. Well, before we get too far in, for anyone that doesn't know, our guest this
Oh,
evening
yeah,
is
because I'm not, the characters are right. That's true.
our guest is Guy Gilchrist, and he is literally an architect of our childhoods. Um, his artistic genius shaped a lot of people, including my daughter. Her formative years were almost as he shaped hers almost as much as her mother and I did, because of all of the different creative venues that he's been part of. He began his professional career under the auspices of Weekly Readers, Super Colonel Comics, and at the age of 24, he was hand selected to create Jim Henson's Muppet comic strip, and that was printed worldwide in 660 odd daily newspapers from 1981 to 86. And throughout the years, he's had his hand in such notable cartoons as the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Looney Tunes and Tom and Jerry and Tiny Toons and Jim Henson's Fraggle Rock and the Pink Panther, Minnie Mouse. He was instrumental in the creation of the Muppet Babies. From 95 to 2018, he worked on the Nancy comic strip, and Guy has also illustrated or authored or both 500 plus children's books, and he's been the recipient of 3 Children's Choice Awards from the International Reading Council of the United Nations and 2 Silver Rubin Awards. I love the name of those awards. The Silver Rubens from the National Cartoonist Society.
Well, you know what? They're named after Rube Goldberg.
Yes, 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 yes. So, so you have been a busy fella.
Yeah.
You
know, I mean, I just have to go from thing to thing. I just can't keep a gig.
You wear out your welcome and you're just on to the next thing. Right?
It's like the door.
So, any of our listeners or watchers that want to ask questions, feel free. We have our comments up, and we have our lovely engineer Willow will give us questions.
Hi, Willow.
Yes, thank you, Willow. She's in her Maid Marian outfit in honor of.
Oh, I'll pop in and say hi, just briefly.
Yes, she's in a Maid Marian costume in tribute to Amy's. Yes, or Queen Marian. Woo.
Yeah. I will hide those for the rest of the remainder of the show. So that way, all eyes will be on you.
But thank you for.
You know, now I'm thinking about it. So, you know.
Green.
Sorry, guys. All right, Miss Piggy.
Yeah, she does. Hey, you know, she flaunts it. You know, she flaunts. I'll tell you, I've known her. I've known Miss Piggy for 43 years. She keeps taking 20% no matter what, and I'm scared to death. So, I've not said a word. I mean, she's worse than any ex-wife. I mean, there's this picture of me, on the internet and stuff. It was the publicity picture that we did when I first started doing the Muppets. And there's me, and there's one with me and Brad too, my brother Brad, and Piggy, Kermit, and Fozzie, and I'm drawing, and we're actually in the basement in the Muppet Workshop at 117 East 69th in New York. That's where the Muppets were located. That was Jim's headquarters, where all the Muppets were made and all of that in New York. And when we took that picture, anyway, when you look at that picture online, Kermit's so happy I'm doing the strip. Fozzie's so happy I'm doing the strip. Piggy's calling her lawyer.
Perfect. Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, in your work, I gotta say, you have an inherent connection to each of these characters. I mean, you bring out that personality in each one of them. Something that I found out, we talk about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and the, but you designed things for the show, but then people that wore the Halloween costumes, they kind of owe you a debt too, don't they? How did that come about?
Well, yeah, or a lawsuit. I'm not sure what. And those costumes that we used to make, they were like, they're different companies, Ben Cooper, Collegeville, I'm old, I forget. But back in the day, so they would have that scary molded plastic thing with, the cutouts for the eyes, and then there was that, plastic that was, one step up from a Glad bag that would be screen printed,
Right.
And
right.
Yeah, I drew those masks for better or for worse. I did those faces. Yeah.
Well, back in the same era, you had the Jaws masks, and those were not very well done. But I remember the first time I saw one of yours, I thought, man, they captured those, for those two-dimensional kind of squashed masks. Those are beautiful.
Well, thank you. You know what's funny is, so that mask that I did for those costumes way back when, so somebody took that line art and they have used that now on, like, and this has nothing to do with Kevin and Peter. That's Eastman and Laird and Mirage way back in the day, because it's sold a lot. I don't even know who owns them anymore. But I've seen literally at least 1,000 products that have that drawing that I did from those masks. And you can always tell, because remember, they had no actual eyeballs, art. So they'll put in eyes, and sometimes they put them in wrong on the items. It's very strange, peculiar, funny, whatever. Because people bring me up stuff, at the cons and stuff to sign and draw on. And I'll look at this going, well, I haven't seen this before. Oh, and they've got like anime Sailor Moon eyes on, Donnie or something. It's like, I got a good turtle story. So we were over in Dubai a few years ago, and I met the gentleman that sang the Turtles theme song in Arabic.
Oh.
And he's like a big deal star, sort of like a cross between like a children's singer, and like Rafi, and like James Taylor or something like that. And he was a huge star. He has his own like television channel and everything throughout Saudi Arabia and Arab Emirates. Anyway, so he and I are meeting. So we met for the first time, and we were doing the same Middle East con. And it was like the Beatles were there. Well, this guy was like, is so super famous, and then I was the only turtle guy that was there besides him. And anyway, so we're hanging out. They had like 250,000 people at this con in Dubai. Anyway, so then we're both at the hotel. He doesn't speak a word of English. I don't speak any. Anyway, so we have their very handsome children that are doing the translating for us.
Mm-hmm.
So we're hanging out, having coffee and stuff for, a couple of hours. And we get ready to leave. And as we look, we're in the center of this hotel. And it goes up like 3 stories. And, so it's sort of a cutout hookah land sort of courtyard thing. And then all around us are all of these tiers and stuff. And there's an outdoor area and a lobby and all of this. Well, we both get up to leave and we start to look. There were like 600 people all like standing around with a lot of those weird products that I just described. So it's over in Arabia. What do I know? And so we're just, and he just looks at me like this happens to him daily.
Yeah.
Crazy. The turtles, and I've been so blessed that these characters that I worked on, of course, the turtles I turned down at first. I'll tell you that story.
There we go.
Oh, yeah. But I've been so blessed because wherever I go, whether it's here in the States or anywhere, even if it's the first time I've been there, I have friends there for 30 or 40 years, because they love the characters. And so then I get to be the recipient, of that love, whether it's love for the turtles or for Jim Henson and what I did with him, or Chuck Jones and Frisk Freeling and what I did with them, or whatever and whatever. So it's a really cool gig, because it's, that song is in Muppet Movie, there's not a word yet for old friends who've just met, I feel like that a lot.
Reading up about your background and everything, it seemed like you were destined for this right from the start. The whole story, it's got all sorts of famous people that seem to have helped shape Mort Walker.
Yeah.
How did you meet Mort Walker from Beetle Bailey and High and Lois fame?
Yeah. Well, so I was doing Weekly Reader. I was doing the Soprano comics, and I was reading a book. Mort put a book out called Backstage at the Strips, and now I lived in northeastern Connecticut in a very poor sort of area, but Greenwich and that area of Connecticut, which a lot of people know from, the movies and everything. Well, hello, Buffy. Oh, hi. That kind of
Right.
That kind of 1980s, soap opera thing. So that area, of course, is very wealthy and it's sort of a bedroom community of New York City, was at that time. And Mort's from Greenwich. And anyway, he put this wonderful book out called Backstage at the Strips, which talked about his life and all of the cartoonists that he knew, playing golf, having drinks, cocktails, the whole fellowship of the National Cartoonist Society. I had no idea of any of this stuff. And, but I read this book, and in it, he had donated millions of his own dollars and started a museum of cartoon art. That was down in Greenwich. And so as soon as I knew about it, I got the address and I went. And it was glorious. And every month they would have a famous cartoonist that would come and do what they used to call a chalk talk, or at Comic-Cons, they call them panels, right? The old thing was chalk talk. They'd have, board up there, paper, whatever. So so sometimes the famous cartoonist, for one, whether or whatever it was, they couldn't show. And so they would look around for anybody to do it for free. And I was always there. So I used to do the talks, and Mort saw me one time and said, hey, you were pretty good doing that stuff. He said, there's just a couple of things. No one knows who the hell you are, and no one knows what the hell you do. So who the hell are you, and what the hell do you do? And so I went out to the truck, and got the comic and brought it in. It was Funny Animal comic. Mort looked at it, said, hey, this is pretty good. We should sign you up to do your own talk. And you could teach, kids how to draw and that kind of thing that you like to do. And we'll put your artwork up. And anyway, so he remembered it in his head. And that was the connection that eventually got me to meet Jim and the Muppets. Mort, about a year or so later, was playing golf with Bill Yates, the head of King Features. And Bill was lamenting the fact that they had the contract for the development of a Muppets comic strip based on the television show that was #1 around the world. And unfortunately, they had tried out a couple hundred people or something. And Michael Frith and Jim had not approved anyone as of yet. So they're about to lose the deal. And so Mort, in his total deadpan, he goes, there's a frog and a pig, right? And Bill says, yeah. He goes, well, it's this hippie kid. Hangs out all the time. Draws funny animals pretty good. Call him. And that's how I got the audition.
Wow. And that Museum of Comic Book Art comic strip art has moved around a lot since he started it. Now it is, if I did my research correctly, it's at the Ohio State University Billy Ireland Cartoon Library and Museum has brought all that in together.
Yeah, you absolutely got it right.
Cool.
Yeah, it started off in Greenwich, Field Point Road. Then it got bigger. They bought a castle on the in Rybrook, New York. And my brother and I, we did this giant stained glass thing for the castle, their Ward Castle. Then that was sort of falling down, and they had to either, completely renovate it and stuff or do something else. They moved to Boca for a while, Florida for a while. And and now everything's been donated to Ohio State. And I think that that's a wonderful place for it. The curator there is wonderful, and that's been around for a long, long time, and it is the biggest stash of comic strip art in the world. If anybody's wondering why Ohio State, it's because Milton Caniff of Terry and the Pirates and Steve Canyon, who kind of created the entire genre of the action comic strip. And then that really became comic books. Milton was an alumni of Ohio State. And when he passed, everything he had went to Ohio State, and it got started. Milton was an incredibly good friend and mentor to me as well.
Wow, you knew everybody.
I got around like bad cheese or something.
Just a quick reminder before we go to some of our viewer comments and questions. I'm Clyde Hall, and you are watching the Ritter Rally, the 2023 Multiverse FunRaiser benefiting the John Ritter Foundation for Aortic Health. We are part of the Back of the Cereal Box podcast, and our guest right now is the multi-talented illustrator and cartoonist, Guy Gilchrist. And that's just the tip of his talents iceberg, really, because, yes, there we go. There are some more Muppets. Yes. Thank you, Miss Willow.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. We had Molly Daniels that said, I believe, let's see here. What was your favorite Muppet film?
Oh,
Yes. Do you have a favorite? I'm sorry. Our question came from Kristen Marie. Do you have a favorite Muppet film?
Well, you know, the really the first three are sort of all tied for all different reasons. When I saw the Muppet movie, you know, the original one, 78, I wasn't working for Jim yet, but it I was a huge Muppets fan, and I was a Muppets fan before Sesame Street and any of that. I was a big fan from, you know, Jimmy Dean show with Rolf and the Ed Sullivan show, Red Skelton, and all of that other stuff. First generation. Anyway, I saw that and I started to feel like film was going to change. That Jim was going to that it just blew my mind. It was the first time I'd seen Jim do anything other than the show, and it was so expansive, you know.
Mhm.
And of course, he did do that. He did change film.
Mhm.
So I loved that. But Jim hired me during Caper. So of course I, you know, love that. And of course, you know, I went steady with Diana Rigg, you know, bubblegum cards as a kid. And then, but then of course, Take Manhattan. That's something that's very personal to me. You know, the babies are introduced. That was really at the height of my connections, you know, there, working on everything. The strip, of course, mostly. So those, all three of them, you know, I love them so much. When I watched Take Manhattan, many of the people that I worked with at 117 East 69th Street are in that movie as extras and all over the streets and through Grand Central and Central Park and all of that, you know, hanging out in the deli, all of that stuff. There's all the people that all the extras are people from Henson Associates, you know, in 84. So, you know, I watched that and it's sort of like home movies or something.
Yeah, yeah.
So I can't pick one. It's you know, Sophie's choice here. You know, I can't do.
That would be like layers. You're looking in the background to see who all
Yeah,
you know. That's very cool. Very
and
cool.
and you probably know, but in case you don't, you know, watch very closely in Central Park when you have the coaches going around in Manhattan. Jim is a driver,
Oh.
you know, and he's got the big top hat.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Um, Something that I was curious about because um, I had read where in an interview you said that when you were younger you did so much work, and it sounds like it, that you felt like you were kind of chained to the desk. You had a lot of time where you had to have your nose to the grindstone and design, produce. So now, in comparison, um, you are out. How many shows do you do a year? How many conventions and things do you go to?
Well, right now I'm doing a lot of them. Um, uh, what I do is I sort of work it around. I had worked it around my schedule as far as production for a
Mhm.
lot of years. I really didn't do very many at all. You know, doing a daily comic like, you know, Nancy until the beginning of 2018. You know, of course, that's a full-time job. And then I was also writing books and designing, you know, characters for animation and this and that and whatever on the side.
Mhm.
So I didn't do a lot of cons. And uh, you know, then of course, sort of COVID came around. And just as I was saying, well, you know, I'm really loving this meeting people because back in the old days, unless we had a book tour when I was, you know, writing books, and so we'd go out on the road and, you know, and hit, you know, 80 metros in 2 years or whatever. Unless I was doing that or I was visiting schools for a project that I was working on, I never really met people.
Mhm.
Um, you know, you all grew up. I was working. Yes, I got fan mail and all of that. I wasn't blind to what was going on. But now, you know, last year I did a lot of them. I don't know how many it was, but it had to be like 30 something, I think, that I did appearances. And I meet so many people that the work that I was a part of the team of, and some of the stuff that I did on my own and all of that, but I don't think we really do anything on our own. But the things that I've been a part of mean a lot to people, and
Mhm.
I cherish that, and
Mhm.
I'm incredibly grateful, and I love the feedback, you know, that I get. And honestly, there are so many incredibly beautiful and sometimes tragic and heartbreaking stories that I hear about, you know, the Muppets and what they mean to people, you know, to people that have passed and that kind of thing,
Mhm.
and you know, just the treasured memories that. And I understand. I'm a particle in Jim Henson's vast universe, but you can't meet Jim, but you can tell it to me. And so I understand that I'm a vessel for that. I'm a receptacle to, you know, to take all of this love in, and I'm handing it off, you know, to the man with the magic that's up there, you know.
Mhm.
Um, so I get that. Carol Spinney, who just passed 2 years ago, you know, Carol and I, who that he's Oscar and Big Bird, you know, he and I were friends starting in '81. And we talked about that all the time. That, you know, he was in production on the TV show. I was in production on comics, books, you know, animation, da 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 da. And you're so happy that what you're doing is loved. And you do have a team around you to do these things.
Mhm.
But it's really a solitary thing. And you're just kind of doing this when you create something, or you're producing something, because you don't know. You just don't know. You know, it could mean something to one person, it could mean something to 20 million people. You just don't know. It could fly, it could flop. You don't know. You're just putting your heart into it. And you know, for my case, in my case, you know, it's, you know, I've got a, you know, piece of paper in front of me, and I'm, you know, trying to make it sing for you, you know.
Mhm. It you
But
you seem to go, you know, to you were good at doing the design and the production, and now you're good at being that advocate for paper art and for that, you know, like you say, you know, being the conduit for the respect that the Jim's work and others have done. But it's just,
yeah, one of the things, Clyde, that I always do is I have a picture of myself and Jim, and a lot of times I like to ask little children, because they say Kermit. You know, they point to Kermit. I'll have a Kermit doll on my table and stuff, or the pictures of Kermit. I'll say, "That's a Kermit," and I'll say, "Yes." And do you know who that is? You know,
Mhm.
um, it's wonderful that Disney does what they do in keeping Jim's characters, the Muppet characters. You know, Brian's doing his own thing with Fraggles and all of that.
Mhm.
Uh, but it's wonderful that the characters are being kept alive. But it's very important also that we keep Jim's character alive. When I
True.
draw Kermit, if you guys follow me on social or any of that, and go ahead and do that if you don't, or go look at stuff, it's everywhere. Um, so when I draw Kermit a lot, I'll put a thought of Jim's on the picture, you know, with the drawing of Kermit, so that, you know, people will remember, because Jim wanted to change the world, and he did, and we continue to, and we try real hard, and you know, and yeah, we're goofy and silly, and we break things, you know, to get out of something if we don't have a punchline. But in the heart of it all is heart.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Everybody loves everybody. Everybody cares about everybody. The Muppet universe, we love everybody. We accept everybody, and hey, if you're not into chickens, you're into penguins. No judgment here. Okay. And and thankfully, through Jim, I met John.
Mm-hmm.
I met John Ritter. So let's see. Okay, so we're working on a Miss Piggy special in Toronto for ABC.
Oh, there we go.
That's it. That's it. I will tell you what, between John and George Hamilton, oh my God. I couldn't get arrested on that set. All those cute girls. Nobody was looking at me. So we were on, so that was at Channel 9 in Toronto. That's the same place, by the way, that we filmed Fraggle Rock. Anyway, so John had, I was watching John do a scene in the show. And then he came off stage, and because I had a meeting with Jim that day, and it was one of the most important days of my life with Jim. And I can get into that in a bit. But anyway, John just came down, sat at the same table that I was, and I was drawing pictures because Brian Henson, Brian's just a couple years younger than me. And at that age, though, it seems like a lot younger, and Brian was asking me to draw pictures of Kermit and Gonzo and stuff like that. And he was giving them to all the dancing girls, the dancers. Yeah. I said, Brian, why are you asking me to draw all this stuff? I said, why aren't you just getting pictures, getting photos from your dad? And he goes, yeah, well, Dad won't draw anything, So I'm sitting doing that and waiting on my meeting with Jim. And I started to tell John what a huge fan I was of his and also of his dad's. And, I, write some country music and write songs and stuff. I was a huge Tex Ritter fan. And so John, it was honestly, in a minute and a half, you felt like you met your brother, your best buddy, whatever you want to call it, because you already felt like you knew John from TV. It was the same guy, and so we just had a wonderful time talking. And then whenever I could get to New York, if he was in New York, I would see him. And so I saw him when he was making the movie with Audrey Hepburn and Ben Gazzara. It was a Peter Bogdanovich movie. Gosh, I got to meet Audrey Hepburn. Just like, you can't believe, oh my God, it's like, really? I couldn't believe that Audrey Hepburn was real. Unlike John, there's just some things you're just kind of going, no way. And yeah, way.
Yeah,
way. But the few times that I saw John, as I said, I always felt like we were brothers immediately. He was so engaging and so loving and so goofy. He was there he is.
Yeah.
Oh, look, spring has sprung. Gonzo's got a new date. Look out. You never know with Gonzo. Is the spring going to be a prop or a date? We really don't know. Muppet Magazine. I know that when John did that, when John did that, I saw John in New York when he was shooting that for Muppet Magazine. Jim Mahan and Jim Mahan did such an amazing job on Muppet Magazine. That was so much fun. There's probably people that are watching that used to get that when they were kids, and I will tell you, it was 100 times even more fun to put together than it might have even been to read. Had so many wonderful people in it, John being one. And you look at that picture of John and the Muppets. It's like, he's just meant to be there.
They're bookends. They're just bookends. It's perfect. It's
I
perfect.
know.
Yeah.
I know.
Hey, we've got some questions here.
Okay.
George Bueller says, I recently rediscovered the Muppet Family Christmas Special and was so moved by Jim's cameo at the end. Did the second appearance of the Muppet Babies cement this new format for the franchise?
Well, the idea behind the Family Christmas was Jim had really expanded the show, the Muppet Show. I think it was the last year of production of the Muppet Show, I believe. Fraggles was happening, and Jim was not a performer. He did perform a couple of Fraggles, but he was a director and a producer in Fraggles. And then on Sesame Street, Jim was basically, him and Frank would come in to Sesame Street and do all of their work, in New York over a week or two, shoot all of their stuff, their sequences together. And Jim was doing, Labyrinth and building to Storyteller and all of this stuff and expanding this world of puppetry and special effects. And so I feel like it was a way to bring all the love and energy together. It was the only time that we ever did that, where we were crossing all of those lines. I mean, yes, Big Bird makes a cameo in Muppet Movie and all of that, but this was intentional, on Jim's part. And Jim in the kitchen doing the dishes as the cook for all of this stuff. Perfect. Perfect. Because I think that that's kind of the way that he looked at it. That behind the scenes, he loved to take you behind the scenes. He was really the first person. Because back in the day, Ray Harryhausen, for instance, wouldn't take you behind the scenes to show you how the magic happened. And Jim was this incredible magician, but sort of the anti-magician, in that he wanted to show you his secrets. But anyway, so he'd be in the back creating all of this silliness, love, goofy stuff, this brilliant majesty stuff. And he just peeked out in the middle of the whole universe that he had created and said hi. And I'll tell you, man, every year when I watch that particular, most of the time I just watch sort of the ending. It gets me because I miss that guy.
Yep. We all do.
The babies are very special in that, as I said, Jim was doing an awful lot of stuff. Now, all of that exploratory stuff, the bill was being footed by Jim, okay? Because, whoever it was, Universal or whatever, could never conceptualize the things that Jim was thinking. He was 5 and 10 years into the future. No one could see a movie made by Jim Henson that didn't have Kermit in it. Then they couldn't see it that didn't have, comedians and, and a guest host and humans and all of that. So one of the things that Muppet Babies did, and I feel like, the comic strip was a stepping stone, because when you look at my drawings of the Muppets, and then we look at the babies as they're created, they're very close. That gave us an opportunity to bring the Muppet sensibilities, Jim's sensibilities, into Saturday morning without Jim having to actually do that, and he could be working on all of this stuff. And then all the toys and the merch and the, everything that was coming into the company and allowing the company to really do expansive artistic things. So it was pretty neat little infinity ring we had.
Right. Yeah. Another question here.
I probably didn't even answer his question.
Let's see. Oh, Molly Daniels. Hi, Molly. She wants to know if you're going to be at the Heroes for Kids and Superman celebration again this year.
Oh, I'm not going to be able to make it this year.
Oh,
thank you for asking. But what I try to do is get as many places as I can. And the thing about cons, and thank you, Molly, I had a great time last year, and I'm sure I'll do it at some point again. The thing about cons and appearances is that it's really crazy that, like, every weekend, basically, there are about 3 or 4 going on somewhere.
Right.
And so the really big towns, I'll try to do them every year, but you never know. But I try to do the really big ones every year, because there's a lot of people coming through. So a lot of, turnover, and a lot of people didn't get a chance to meet you last year and whatever. And then I try to do places that I've never been. I was just in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I'd never been there. Oh my gosh, that was a blast last week. And so I do try, like, I had never ever been to that town with Heroes for Kids. So that was absolutely wonderful to do that. And I do hope to get back there again. But Molly, I hope I get to see you at some point, somewhere. I'm everywhere. So
Ryan Permisson had a question that it was further up on the feed, but he wanted to know if you had a comfort food movie, one that you could just watch over and over and over again. It's that, you've got some spare time and you just put that one on and you can watch it numerous times and always enjoy it.
You mean something that I was involved in, or something, or just?
I think just in general.
Oh, just my own thing. Oh yeah, without a doubt. I can watch. I can watch Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein as many times as you can show it.
My brother, yes. Yes.
I mean, what else do you want? You got Abbott and Costello and everybody.
Yes.
What else did you possibly want, in a movie? And there are a lot of that. There are a lot of movies like that. I love The Time Machine. I could watch that. The original Time Machine with Yvette Mimieux and Bob Dylan. I could watch that forever. Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Oh, yes.
Oh, why wouldn't you want to watch that? It's on, And then, there are those movies that suck you in every single time. You're clicking along, and you see, I don't know, Tommy Boy. How are you going to leave Tommy Boy? You can't.
Right.
You're sucked in. That's it. Yep. But yes, yeah. There's it's sort of a lot of that, and an interesting thing too is that when Disney finally put out the majority of the Muppet shows, and I hadn't seen them in a long time. I still have all of the beta Max tapes that Jim gave me, of course. I have everything, but I don't have anything to play them on anymore. And switching them over, no, I just look at them, and because it's very special that way. But anyway, I started watching, especially the last year of the Muppets, because that was a time that I was very involved, and watching, like, Crystal Gale and that season. I'm like, I'll watch it over and over and over again, because I'm just tossed back. And also, every once in a while, I'll find out that there's going to be someone, and I just saw Crystal the other day, and she's still beautiful and an angel and everything. But every once in a while, I'll know, like, Vincent Price's daughter was going to be at a con that I was going to be at. So I rewatched quite a few times some Vincent Price movies, but of course also that very famous Muppet Show with Vincent Price.
Yes. We're running out of time, but before we go, I wanted to tell you, if you have not checked out Guy's musical talents, go look up a video.
You have good taste. We're going to change that on you.
You got to go listen to a song called "Jim Beam Me Up, Scotty."
I will definitely look that up.
And for the
watch the video. We animated it.
I know. I was gonna say, for the art and for the music, but oh my gosh, I giggled like a kid. That's great. So
I have to thank you for bringing one of my favorite Muppets to life, Gonzo.
Yeah.
Kristen's brother actually drew a picture and wanted to show you it.
Let me see. Oh, that's wonderful. Great job.
Yes. Well, Willow.
Yes, and Donatello is also one of my favorite characters. So
yes. Just to remind everybody, this is part of the Ritter Rally, and we would like to thank Guy Gilchrist for making our Multiverse FunRaiser a success and helping out as we promote to the John Ritter Foundation for Aortic Health this weekend. So we are going to run a promo, Willow, here in a second to kind of explain what we're all about. But Guy, thank you so much for taking time out to talk with us.
It's my pleasure, and let me just personally say that Jim truly believed that we could change the world. Anybody that's watching this, you can. Okay. Jim had a philosophy that there were really big things like the Cold War at that time, and racial inequality, and that there were one person could only do like so much. So we start to focus on one person at a time, one thing at a time, and changing the world one little piece of love at a time. This is an opportunity for us all to do that. So anyone that is a Turtle fan, is a Muppet fan, loves any of the things that I've worked on, Looney Tunes, Tiny Toons, all that stuff, look to your heart and then help this. The heart's right there in this, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Love energy is the rainbow connection.
Yes. Thank you. And we're going to run our promo, and then stay tuned, because Chris Gaucher and mediator Ryan Permisson is coming up next.
Referee now?
Referee, yes. Ryan's going to be our referee. But thank you all for joining us, and thank you, Guy. Have a good rest of your evening.
Our charity partner for this year's Multiverse FunRaiser is the John Ritter Foundation for Aortic Health. They exist to spread awareness of aortic health and prevent unnecessary suffering through genetic research, widespread education, and radical advocacy. Simply click on the link at our website, www.themultiversefundraiser.com, that says donate here, and that will take you to our Just Giving link. All donations go directly to the John Ritter Foundation for Aortic Health. As a bonus, every $10 donation that you give enters you into our sweepstakes to win fantastic prizes. All information can be found at our website under giveaway. So thank you for watching and thank you for supporting.